bridging the wealth gap, which is the very next subject we're going to cover. I felt like since we had one issue going on in our community, let's follow it up with another one. So, be Avery, introduce your story, and then when you do that, I'll drop the video for it.
Well, one second. Let me get this other. Okay, I got it. So, I was talking I just brought up my college friends. I think it's about maybe 10, 11, 12 of us in the group chat. There's only probably about one or two of them in that I can talk about this stuff right here. They tell me that I'm wasting my breath when I try to talk to them about it. Even when it comes to the data, they say, Brandon, you have to kind of be careful and give people training wheels to talk about it, because when they actually find out how much debt we or how much money we don't have, it can be very depressing, and people can go in shock. And it's very true. I remember that happened to me. But the main thing, guys, is Black people, we have no money. We are broke. We are poor, and it's getting worse, and it's going to continue to get worse. I mean, there's about 43 million Black people in this country, 20 million households, Black households. When you take away, depreciating assets, the Black family only has about $1,700 in net worth on average. That's pathetic. To be in the top 5% of Black people in this country, you only need about $350,000 with your mortgage, as opposed to white people to be in the top 5%. That's 10 million. You need a minimum of $10 million. And so there's no amount of the lottos that you can win, Bitcoin, Dogecoin, stock market, whatever, that can close the racial wealth gap. And if you don't have any wealth, you have no power. And we're going to continue to be raped, tortured, and killed like always. And so now, I didn't do all this research myself. I am not an expert in politics or economics. But what I was talking about earlier is the solutions. I just listen to the experts. I say to myself, okay, who are the people that are, who are the historians? Who are the lawyers? Who are the economists that are doing this right now and have been doing this, that have some experience that I can learn from, and we can work together. And there's a gentleman by the name of Dr. William Sandy Darity out of Duke University, and he is an economist among another team of economists, and that's just somebody I kind of want to introduce you to today. And so, Lamont, if you have that clip, you can go ahead and play it.
Got it. And might I shout out? He's a colleague of my wife, by the way.
Oh, that's even better. That's even better.
Let me shout that out real quick, and let's jump on this video. Be Avery.
It's people who talked about reparations. I've quoted you quite a bit in my work. When you think about ways to address the racial wealth gap and through the lens of reparations, like what's one of the most effective steps you think can be taken immediately?
Well, I want to thank Ryan for introducing reparations into the conversation. I've done a substantial amount of work on this topic, particularly in conjunction with my partner, Kirsten Mullen, and we have a new book on reparations that will be available in April called From Here to Equality. In the final chapter, we try to sketch how you might actually execute a reparations program. I think one of the critical things that we have to recognize is the magnitude of the racial wealth gap. And I think we've talked about the racial wealth gap here, but I don't think we've of the scale of that disparity. So if you were to examine the American population as a whole, Black Americans are about 13% of the nation's population, but Black Americans possess less than 3% of the nation's wealth. What that translates into at the average is an $800,000 differential per Black and white household. That is to say, the average Black household has $800,000 less in net worth than the average white household. And I'm talking about looking at the average or the mean instead of the median, which Ryan referred to, because 94% of the wealth that is held by white households is held by white households who have a net worth above the white median. And so if we're thinking about closing the racial wealth gap, we have to think about closing it at the mean rather than at the median to absorb the full differential in the proportion of wealth that's held by the two communities. So if you were to bring the black share of wealth at least to the black share of the population, it would require an additional at least $10 trillion. And so the other kinds of programs or initiatives that we're talking about are not going to come anywhere close to trying to eliminate or eradicate a gap at that magnitude. And so that's why we need to turn to something like a reparations program, which is specifically aimed at building black assets to a level that would be comparable to the level of assets that are held by white Americans on average.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got E-Man in the building. He's come in after we've only got 2 topics done. We've got several left for you, E-Man, but I'm going to come to you next after we get done letting Larry just kind of give your thoughts on what we just heard and how we can go forward, Big Larry.
I'm sorry. Can I finish though?
Yeah, absolutely.
Go for it, man.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
If you wanna share my screen real quick, just for a second. This is what Dr. William Sandy Darity looks like.
Now you're gonna have to bear with me because my computer is over here freezing. I don't know what's going on.
I'll tell you what. Also, I have a lot of information saved in a PDF. If somebody emails me, bavery@justmyopinion.net, just say send me the info. I'll copy it and paste it, send it to you. But this is William Sandy Darity. He's out of Duke University. He also wrote this book that he was talking about. It came out April of 2020 last year with so yeah, like I was saying, man, I picked this book up last year. This is the book he was talking about, From Here to Equality. How many pages is this? It's about 400 pages. I'm kind of ADD when it comes to books, so I've only read the first chapter, and then me and some friends started reading another book. But I'm going to get back into this next week, or sometime next week. And when Lamont was like, "Hey, what do y'all want to talk about?" I was like, "Well, if I'm going to get into it, you know what I'm saying, let me tell everybody else as well." The first chapter of this book talks about every reparations attempt that has been made since 1865, since slavery was abolished, up until now. Talks about the good, the bad. That's something that you have to know. I haven't read it yet, but he says that the last chapter in the book is a realistic sketch or draft of how reparations can be drawn out. And in that video, he said $10 trillion. That was a short video. There's stuff about him all on the internet with different groups, TED Talks, ADOS. He's also one of the economists that's working with Ice Cube, because when Ice Cube first came out, his plan was ridiculous. But people approached him like, "Hey, I'm an expert in this field. And Ice Cube started listening, and these are one of the economists that Ice Cube started listening to. So that's dope right there. One reason why I support him. But when he was talking about in the video $10 trillion, it's really for the American claim about $17 to $18 trillion, and that's not cash money. No. That comes in multiple forms, like guaranteed land, guaranteed home ownership, guaranteed health care, guaranteed transportation, guaranteed education, and government protection. We also have the international claim, because there are foreign countries that owe Black Americans as well, because cotton was it went around the world, and so there's a French economist by the name of Thomas Piketty that has a book as well called Capital in the 21st Century. Now this is a thick book as well. It's like 700 pages. However, if you don't want to read a 700-page book, there is a documentary on Netflix, or at least it was. I don't know if they took it down. That is a summary of this, and it's very, very good. I shared it with my brother. So if you want to know where the money reside and how trillions and billions of dollars has been shifting around since the 1600s, watch the documentary on Netflix. And there's this another book right here, the half that has never been told. Everybody told me that this book is fire. This is also on my list. This will help increase your political and economic education as far as the debt that is owed to us. And so when Lamont played that horrible clip of us getting executed earlier, you know, that's just because we don't have power. And one of the things we need is economic power. I'm not saying that's the only thing, but that is one of the things we need. And Darity and other economists and professors and et cetera, they are working, Dr. Claude Anderson, you know, that they are working on this. So, I mean, you're going to have to do your homework, you know. Bob Johnson came out with a whack one-page syllabus that didn't make any sense. No, we can't rely on that. He's not an expert. And I don't mean to crap on him, but you know, he stole a bunch of information from these people and didn't want to give them credit. And so if you want to make change, man, we're gonna have to just read and engage and pass this information down to our kids and our grandchildren and all that stuff, because it's not gonna. And when I told y'all earlier that white dude came and approached me, he knew what was up. He knew. He was like, Brennan, at the very least, it's gonna take 40 years, and I'm ready to bleed. I mean, he knew what the deal was. You know what I'm saying? If any of my white people out there, if I got any white allies in the chat, I don't know, but here's 2 ways you can be an ally, and it don't cost you no money. One thing that you can do is, from now on to the rest of your life, when you come across a black person or any person of color, no matter what, tell them the truth. No matter what, I don't care what the subject matter is, unless it's your personal banking information or medical records. You know, of course, keep that personal. But no matter what it is, never ever lie to a black person or any person of color. Never. Always tell them the truth, no matter what, especially about your group. Something else you can do is, anytime there's an opportunity for advancement, an opportunity to come up in life, pass that information along to a black person, a person of color. But that doesn't mean that you can't take advantage of it either, but just pass it along. Hey, they don't cost you no money or nothing like that. You don't even got to change your life. And so
hey, that's real talk.
That's
real talk for real.
Yeah, and God, I didn't know the stuff I'm saying. I'm not a know-it-all. You know, I didn't really start getting into this until Alton Sterling and Philomena Castile died, and I was like, I'm sick of this. I am tired of it, and I just started paying attention more and more. Like, who are the black people that are talking about this, are trying to do stuff? And that's how I just started to compile all this information, you know, over the past few years. And so if I can do it, you can do it too. Because 10 years ago, I was just trying to get on hoes and smoke weed all day. That's all I was trying to do. But you know, that won't amount to nothing. I'm just being real. So you know, we can always talk about this. We have to talk about this, not just here tonight. We need to always have these conversations as much as possible. But that's all I'm gonna say today. Just as a brief, you know, a brief intro, and you know, if anybody want to continue the conversation, you know how to get in contact with me. So,
okay. Larry, any quick thoughts on the wealth gap?
Sorry I took so long.
Oh, you good?
No, that's I mean, it's yeah, I guess I do some thoughts. I mean, I know a lot of people are going to probably say this is not the way you should do it, but
oh boy.
No, but and I say this in all seriousness. I think for at least a good solid generation or two, we should have black men, black women too, but because these are male dominated fields, we should have black men in mass numbers join the military and join our local and state police departments, because we need to be put in positions where we can protect our brothers out there. Because when we see these shootings, when we see these violent attacks where people are being tased and they're being beaten and kicked in the face and all this stuff, they're hordes of white officers. We're not seeing black officers doing this. Sometimes we see black officers around the peripheral, but we generally don't see them doing this. And we need to be in positions where we can protect each other. Not only that, the reality of it is, I'm not trying to dog anybody out there. So if I sound like some sort of elitist, I apologize. That's not what I mean. Not everybody's built for college life. You know, all of us in here are all college educated. Some of us have advanced degrees, and not everybody is built for that. Some people don't have the will or the discipline or the intellect or simply the finances to be able to go do it. And so There are jobs that allow you to have a good life, to build income, and a couple of those places are, one is the military. Not only does it allow you to have a place where that you can earn a retirement and you can have money and get housing, but it also will train you it will train you so that when you need to pick up arms and defend your community, you will know how to do so. You'll know how to do it. You'll know how to train others how to do it. And the same thing with the police departments. You can go and become a police officer. You don't need a master's degree. You can go and become an officer and make a decent living. You can make $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 or more, depending on if you're in a big city. You can have a decent life, and at the same time, you're able to protect the men and women that are very, very vulnerable. And a lot of people, for a long time, Black people were locked out of those types of jobs, and a lot of white wealth was built because there were people that were functional idiots in a lot of ways that were able to do really good jobs because they were able to join a union, whether it be a police union or one of those Masonic, unions or something, whatever it is that they were able to do so they can become a builder or a landscaper or a ditch digger. They were able to go and get those good jobs and build wealth. They were able to buy homes and build equity and then send their kids to college on the backs of that equity. And their kids can then get better jobs and attain more wealth. And they have generations of a lead in front of us. Even just looking back so far as, just as recently as World War II, when you had all of these vets that came out of World War II and were able to take advantage of the GI Bill, Black people were not able to do that. Black men were denied access to the GI Bill for which they earned.
Yep.
They were not able to take advantage of it. They were denied VA home loans so that they couldn't buy homes and take advantage of that. Black people back in the day, when we bought homes, we couldn't buy homes on credit. Yep. We saved up and bought homes
cash, homie,
because you couldn't get a mortgage. So
Larry, that is if you didn't get redlined.
Right.
Right. And so when people talk about, my dad did it, my grandpa did it, how come you can't? Because your grandpa was able to go and take $200, $300 to a bank and say, I would like a home loan, and go get a home, because homes didn't cost, what do we do now? You go get a home that costs $3,000, you brought them 10%, and they give you a mortgage. Black people don't have those options. They saved up and saved up and saved up, and then somebody may have died and gave them a life insurance policy, and they took all that money and they bought a house.